Hey everybody, this is Mrs. Zimmerman here. I'm back. I got my microphone working, so I'll be able to do regular videos for you like you've been used to. So hopefully it'll be a little bit easier for you to understand what we're going to be doing in math. So what you've been watching on the last few videos are about integers, right? Positive and negative numbers, comparing them, putting them in order from least to greatest, all that kind of stuff, right? So today's lesson, we are actually going to continue using positive and negative numbers, but this time we're going to include decimals and fractions. So we're going to be looking at negative fractions, negative decimals. What do we do with those kind of numbers in comparison with each other? Okay, so I'm going to head to the front and we're going to get started. So like I said, we are going to start rational numbers. Okay, that's what we call these, numbers that are negative and positive and include numbers that are not whole, right? Because anything in between 1 and 2 is not a whole number, or it would be a whole number, okay? Yeah, I don't know, you get it, right? 1 and 2 are whole numbers and everything else in between is not. So what they're going to want you to do is to graph each number in its opposite. So this is very similar to what you did with regular integers. And when you get to big ideas, they will probably already have the graph made for you. But because we're not on big ideas, I'm going to help you right along. Okay, so when we do negative and positive numbers, our 0 goes in the middle. And our denominator is 4. They want us to graph 3/4 and its opposite. So the easiest thing to do is to count by fourths. So the first one would be 1/4, and then 2/4, and then 3/4, and then 4/4, right? But we can stop there. And whatever I do on the positive side, I have to do on the negative side. So that'd be negative 1/4, negative 2/4, and negative 3/4. Okay? Now that I'm here, they want me to graph 3/4 and its opposite. So what's the opposite of a positive 3/4? A negative 3/4. Okay? It's pretty simple. That's all they're asking you to do. And then also we're going to have decimals. Okay? So here's how I would do decimals. I would start in the middle at 0. Okay? The first thing that I would put on my line, we're trying to do negative 1 6/10. So here's what I would do. I would start with negative half. Then I would do negative 1. Oops. And then I would do negative 1.5. And I would do negative 2. I would just be counting by fives, or by halves. So I'm going to do the same thing on the positive side. I'm going to do a half, and then 1, and then 1.5, and then 2. Okay? So if I was going to graph negative 1.6, I would look here to my 1.5 and just say, well, 1.6 is just going to be right behind it. So the opposite of a negative 1.6 is a positive 1.6. Okay? What else do we have? Oh, let's do a mixed number real quick. Okay, we're going to start with 0 in the middle. And this is the same thing. It's 2.5 as a mixed number, which is the same thing as 2.5 as a fraction. So really what we just did in the last problem, we can do again. We can do a half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. My number line's not quite big enough, but that'll work, right? And then let me get a little bit smaller line. We can do negative 1/2, negative 1, negative 1.5, negative 2, and negative 2.5. Like I said, on big ideas, the number line should be done for you already, so that'll take a lot of this work out for you. But we're going to graph 2.5, which is right here. And what's the opposite of a positive 2.5? A negative 2.5. And that's it. Okay, so that's how we graph rational numbers and their opposites. Now, the next thing they're going to want us to do is compare them. And the best way to compare them, you might be, like the more you use negative numbers, the better that you're going to get, okay? But for us to start off, we're gonna start with a number line, okay? And if you look at the two numbers that I'm comparing, negative 2.3 and negative 1.5, both of those are negative numbers. So I'm gonna put my 0 over here because the only space I really need is on the left. So let's just keep doing what we've been doing. We'll do a negative half, negative 1, negative 1.5, negative 2, negative 2.5, negative 3, okay? And let's plot these points. The first one is negative 2.3. Now, I don't have that on my number line, but I can do a rough guess, and it's gonna fall right here. And negative 1.5 is gonna be right there on that line. So the number that's bigger is the number farthest to the right. So in that case, it's this dot, which means negative 1.5 is greater than negative 2.3. Kind of see how I did that? Hopefully. Okay, let's do another one. Okay, here we go. This time, or same thing, we'll make a number line. We're comparing negative 3 8/100 and negative 3.8. So very similar. Here we go. We're going to do negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and then I'm going to do negative 3.5, negative 4. Okay, just to kind of help us out here. So the first one I'm going to graph is actually the negative 3.8 because I know 0.8 is just a little bit bigger than 0.5. So that would be like right there maybe, 6, 7, yeah, maybe more like here. Okay, then the 3.08, think about this. This is a 0, which means we have not even gotten to 1 yet. 3.1 would be like right here, right where that green dot is. So 3.08 is going to be even in front of that. So which one's going to be bigger? Yeah, the 3.08. It's farther right, which means that number is going to be bigger. So it's situations like this where having the number line can be very helpful. Okay, let's do one more, and then I think you'll kind of get the hang of it. Okay, so this time I've got negative and positive. So I'm going to do 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and then I'm going to do negative 0.5, right? That one didn't even take that much because my negative half is going to be here and my 3/10 is here. So the fact that 3/10 is positive is automatically going to make that bigger. Okay, so this is how we're going to compare decimals. Use a number line to figure out which number is farthest right, and then go from there. If you don't need the number line, then don't use it. Okay, same thing. We're now going to compare fractions. Okay, so we have negative 1/2 and negative 3/4. So in order to compare fractions, the first thing I like to do is make sure that they both have a common denominator. So negative 3/4, I'm going to keep the same. And I know that if I multiply this fraction by 2, I can do the numerator times 2, which is 2, and the denominator times 2 is 4. So now I have a negative 2/4 and a negative 3/4. Come over to my number line. Again, these are only negative numbers. So I'm just going to count by a negative 1/4, negative 2/4, negative 3/4, and I guess that's it. That's all we need, right? Because I have a negative 2/4 and a negative 3/4. So which one's going to be bigger? The one that is farthest right. So that would be negative 2/4. Very similar to the decimals. Just write them out and figure out which one is farthest right. Okay, now here's another one for us. And this time they already have a common denominator. So we're talking about two negative numbers. So we'll start with 0 and we'll do -1/7, -2/7, -3/7, and -4/7. Okay, well, 4/7 is right here, -1/7 is here. Which one's bigger? -1/7. All right, hopefully you're getting the hang of that because, oh, that's it. I thought we had, a mixed number. That's what I was looking for. Okay, mixed number. So this is going to be our last one, -4 5/6 and -4 1/6. Okay, so they're both negative. So again, my number line is just going to be from here on out, negatives. Okay, and they're both 6 on the bottom. So that makes this really easy. Because think, here's -1, -2, -3, -4. Okay, so the next thing we would have, let me make that a little smaller, is -4 1/6, -4 2/6, -4 3/6, and I'm gonna, no, -4 4/6, and then -4 5/6. Right? Just write them all out. 4 5/6 is here. 4 1/6 is right there. So which one is bigger? -4 1/6 is going to be the greater number. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense to you. Again, using the number line is going to be probably the best way until you really get comfortable with negative numbers, okay? So good luck with the lesson, and I'll see you next time.